The future and past collide in this thought-provoking sci-fi novel. The Return is a departure from Laurie Stevens' psychological thrillers. And today we get a chance to chat with her about her latest novel. Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews. I'm Sharon Lynn, and welcome to you, Laurie.
Thank you, Sharon, so much for having me. I love being part of the Blackbirds. And I'm excited about this interview and a chance to talk about the book.
It was such an exciting read. It was one of those where I picked it up and just couldn't put it down, even when I was supposed to be doing other things.
Well, as a fellow author, that's a compliment. So thank you very much. That's great news. Great to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so much fun. So last time you and I talked, you were exploring the realms of heaven and hell. Uh,
Yes.
and now you've moved into science fiction and AI. Was there a specific event or something that happened that just made you have to get this story out?
Yeah, I would say that we are lucky, or I don't know if we're lucky, that we are living through the advent of a new age for humanity. There's the age of agriculture and what the impact that did to humanity, the age of industrialization, and what the changes that made in the course of human evolution. And here we are living in the advent of the digital age. And even though to us it seems like it's been around a while, the impacts have only just begun.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to write this book.
Yeah, it was just such a great start. All these cautionary things, but then, yeah, just read it, everyone. So one of my questions for you, and I'm not just picking on you. I ask men who do this the opposite as well. You tend to write lead characters that are male, and you're obviously not male. So why do you choose to do that?
Well, I think the male voice comes really easy to me. And in so many ways, um, I feel that that historically men have run a lot of things. Okay. I mean, if you look through even through the Bible, or you look through a historical books, you don't see a lot of women in there. There's the one great woman that shines and the one great woman here. And I think that men and their egos have taken over a lot of this world for so many years. It's changing now. Women are certainly at the advent. Women are CEOs of companies. It's changed a lot. But listen, I lived through the time where a woman VP was an unusual thing back in the 80s. You were really an unusual woman if you could get that far. And our parents lived through a time where women were still being pinched in the elevators and mostly secretaries. And if you were a woman who was a doctor in the 50s, that was an amazing feat. So I guess the question would be, so then why aren't you giving more empowerment to women? Why are you writing in a man's voice? Because I think men have more lessons to learn. I really do. And so when I make my male characters go through these things, I want them to have a renaissance. I want them to have that sort of spiritual evolution that I see that some men don't have, or it's still not embedded enough in our culture to insist that they have, whereas women seem to tend to be deep thinkers or have that more spiritual attitude, or address their male side more than the men will address their female side. And I'm a real strong believer in the yin and the yang, that we're both a little bit of both.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great answer. And if you could just show us your book, the cover is actually the incredibly strong female character. And she really does have it a lot more together than the male character from whose perspective you write. And so I love that answer, basically, is what I'm getting at, is
Oh, thank you.
he goes through a lot, and I like that he goes through a lot.
Yeah, if you'll notice that this is supposed to be a character in the book called Ava. And in fact, her eyes are supposed to be little mini computers. So she can show in the book, her eyes are actually almost awkward. They do fill up this whole area, but we decided to make them a little more human-like for the cover.
Mm.
But she she's the one that has all the insight. I
Right.
mean, for Aiden, he's the one that still has to. So you see, I mean, you because you read the book, you can see his journey is different than hers.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and she does just come to the page with a lot more wisdom than even he ever thought that she possessed. So, yeah, I like that.
Nice, good, it worked.
Absolutely. All right. So, as a follow up, this young man, he loves nature and he prefers a Stellar's Jay to most of his classmates. Is he inspired by anybody you know?
Probably my husband. My husband loves taking long hikes and walks and nature, and I think also, again, going back to sort of a generalization, a lot of men, I read somewhere when men take walks, they're better talkers, like more in-depth talkers. When they're in nature, they're more in-depth talkers. And my husband is an avid bird watcher. We go on trips to watch birds. So he advises me whenever I mention birds in books, he's my advisor. And also, um, he once had a little blue jay friend that used to eat peanuts out of his hand. So I just loved that. And he's the one that would point out that's not a bluebird, that's a Steller's jay because it has a little crown on its head, you know. And Steller's jays also tend to be unafraid and anyways, they're a little more tame around campsites and things like that. And
Yeah.
we go camping a lot.
We have some in our backyard, and it's just you never ever get tired of seeing them. It's like, oh, it's so blue.
Yeah.
I when that Stellar's Jay first comes into Aiden's view, I was like, oh, yay. Uh,
Yeah.
so this book opens with an almost Wally form of dependency on artificial intelligence. So do you have anything that, you personally depend on for AI, um, you know, uh, Roomba or Siri or
Well,
whatever you.
I refuse to get Alexa. I if I have to turn this channel of my TV, I'm gonna just turn it. But I do have a Roomba and but I end up following it around because I don't think it's that smart yet. And but as far as AI is concerned, I use it all the time. I mean, if you do anything with your books, you're using AI all the time. It's a help. It's a help for editing. It's a help. I mean, Grammarly, if you run your book, your first draft through Grammarly, that's AI.
Oh,
If
I
you use
don't.
ChatGPT, AI.
I don't let my editors see, and this is my editors before I get to my publisher. I don't let my editors see anything before it's run through Grammarly because I can't spell and I write really fast. So I it's just like, well, that's not a word. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Grammarly is the bomb.
So yes, I do depend on AI quite a bit. In the book, the characters or our world in general is, well, you have a chip in your head so that you don't have to carry around a cell phone anymore. And all the technology in the book is researched. The only thing I made up is the predictor.
Yeah.
And who knows, they might be working on that. I was told by a tech person that whatever is out right now, the tech that you can research, they're 5 years ahead of you behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And so for all I know, they already are predict which remember the magic 8 ball? Like you would ask it questions and it would say, thinking about that or whatever. I kind of based the predictor on a better magic 8 ball, that you would say, should I wear a blue shirt today or a black shirt? And it would say, wear the black shirt. But the whole point of that is that we're so dependent on that technology that we can't even make a decision anymore. And we don't have to.
Right.
And that's where it becomes a little scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, in this book, there are those who love nature and those who love technology, and they're sort of at odds. with each other. And kind of going back to your last book with heaven and hell, do you see this, one is evil and one is good, or um, how did you set up this conflict in your mind?
It's interesting that you point that you point that out, that you're asking, sort of calling me to the carpet saying, is this a battle between good and evil? Um, the easy answer would be yes. The more difficult answer would be, I don't know, because if you I kind of base this on a story in the Bible of it's a one that everyone knows. It's the story of Adam and Eve and their expulsion from the Garden of Eden. And you know that you read the book and you saw a lot of references to that passage. And the reason is because what did they do that pissed God off so much? They ate from the tree of knowledge. What would be so wrong with eating from the tree of knowledge? So is that, yes, in the Bible's version, you have the serpent, I guess is supposed to be reminiscent of the devil or something. Although it doesn't come out and say that, doesn't say the devil's in there. Is that a battle between good and evil or a battle between something else? Um, because what would be such a bad thing about gaining knowledge and gaining wisdom? You would think that would be a good thing for Adam and Eve. Why not? What this book explores is why that would have been a possible negative. I won't say a bad thing, but a negative, and why they could not live in the Garden of Eden anymore. It's like, fine, you can have your wisdom, but you're going to live somewhere else. This utopia, you're not allowed to be in anymore. And the reason is because they basically would have considered it obsolete at some point. And so is this a battle between good and evil? I guess it's funny that you mentioned The Devil and Daniela Webster. I know you read that, and I know that's what you're referring to. Um, in that book, it was there you are, good battles evil, God against the devil. Right there, it's all. And I guess I was getting my feet wet to try to explore this book.
Mhm.
But at the end of the book, I don't know that it's necessarily a battle of between good and evil. It's just a commentary on what we might do with too much knowledge
Well,
and how we could kind of wreck things for our Garden of Eden.
right, right, absolutely. And like you said, this is a commentary, and we're still debating Genesis, and it's like, well, why was that bad, and all of this, and there's a lot of commentary of that, and so I think that's a nice kind of metaphor for this book as well. Um, so tell us about the setting. It's a small town. It's somewhat secluded, based on a real town. Tell us about it.
It's not based on a real, it would be based on any small town in the Sierra Nevadas. The one thing that makes this town different is that it is a headquarters of they're using an abandoned military base and made a bunker underground to house the big data center that is the main brain of the United States. So it's a small town that was once built around a fort or a military base to service the military base. When the military base went defunct, the town still existed, but you had then a lot of the people that work there are servicing now this main brain. So you do have a lot of tech engineers there, but you also have a general populace of small town people. And I didn't want to set it in a big city because I would have no control over the population. Can you imagine how many characters you would need? I had difficulty juggling the characters of a small town and not overrunning the reader with too many characters and people they'd have to remember.
Mhm.
So because what happens in the book does affect everyone. So you're talking about a big cast of characters. If you have it take place in a city, I just didn't even want to deal with that. I didn't want to deal with subways. I didn't want to deal with people in skyscrapers. There is a line in the book that when things go dark, Govind, who's one of the heads of the, he's a politician actually, who's visiting and gets caught up in the fray. He does say, can you imagine what life is like right now in the cities? People trapped in skyscrapers, people in subways. So I wanted him to say that to let you know, oh wow, yeah, think about what it would be like in a city with giant populations. I also wanted to take place in a small town in the mountains because they would have more resources. They would have fresh water. They would have wood for fire. They would have plants to eat. They would have game to hunt. In a city, I didn't want to tackle that. Not in this book. I had enough to tackle.
Well, yeah, because that's part of the thing is not only that everybody is so dependent on the technology, but even an elevator it comes in super handy if you're in a skyscraper. If you
And
don't
what
have
if the
that,
elevator, yeah, what if the elevator stopped and the doors wouldn't open to the stairwells?
here you go.
What do you do? I mean,
What
if every door is automated and you don't even have to touch a door anymore, and every window stays shut unless the main brain, you say, Alexa, open the window. Otherwise, the window doesn't open.
right?
I just didn't want to go there.
Oh no. Well, and even if they get out, what are they supposed to do? It's like there aren't animals. At least there's not water. There's way too much to deal with. So yeah, but that line is really what made me start thinking about that. It's like, oh my gosh, if you were in San Francisco, oh, just wow, my gosh. Uh,
Right, because the people do say, we should go to the city, we'll have better resources. And Govind says, no, we shouldn't go. We're gonna have to stay here.
yeah, yeah. And which makes it really fun because I am in a small town for part of the time and I'm in a rather large city the other part of the time. And it's like, oh no, if this happened, I want to be in my small town.
Yeah, I think you would, and you'd want to be near where you could get resources.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so we've had Laurie Stevens writing psychological thrillers, which award-winning, amazing. We've had Heaven and Hell. We've had Technology and Nature. What is next for Laurie Stevens?
I know, are you asking which genre I'm gonna jump to now?
Jump to or explore further. Either way.
Well, I probably should be starting on The Return #2, but I'm actually circling back to psychological thrillers, and I'm working now on another psychological thriller, not another Gabriel book, but something different. Yeah, but
And
it's still going to explore mental health and things like that.
yeah, you do such a fascinating job with mental health, but they're really scary. You're, you're psycho.
Yeah, I'm going back to where I feel comfortable.
It's
Those are
just
dark, scary
terrifying,
books.
terrifying people. Okay, and finally, where can our fans find you? Social media?
Oh, well, you can get The Return or the Gabriel books. If you like psychological suspense, you can even get The Devil and Daniela Webster. Everything is on Amazon or bnn.com. You can go into a Barnes and Noble or any indie bookstore and order the books. Support your indie bookstores. I know some of them carry them. So they're basically available wherever books are sold. You may have to order it, but they are available.
All right, and you are also part of the Blackbird Writers, so we can find information for you about there, and then you are, what's your social media handle?
Well, Facebook would be Laurie Stevens Books. You can always find me at Laurie Stevens Author, or you can visit my website and go to www.lauriestevensbooks.com. And that's Laurie, Laurie, and Stevens with a V and books. and then you can find me, and I'm just about everywhere.
Yeah.
TikTok, feel free to follow the Blackbirds, great organization, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, me
Good people like Sharon, good authors.
too. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a really fun chat. I always enjoy our chats.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do too, Sharon.
and thank you all for watching Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews.